Welcome to the Refined Strength podcast. I have my lovely guest who I recently met, Addison Shields. Or is your last name
Yes.
Brinley?
No, it's Shields. It's
It is
Shields.
Shield. Okay, good.
Yes.
Just double checking. So thank you so much for being on. I'm super
Thanks for
excited to
having me.
just get to know you a little bit. I like to ask this question sometimes, just who are you? How do you define yourself?
Wow, I feel like that's such a broad question. So that's a great question. Wow. I would define myself as I feel like I'm still kind of figuring it out. I feel like I'm still in those like early 20s, not really sure where I'm headed, not sure if I'm headed down the right path quite yet, but obviously like I've developed a love for strength and fitness, for health in general, just like health and wellness on a much deeper level than I ever thought I would have, 3, 4, 5 years ago when I kind of started out in this space. I'm a Christian. I am a family girl. I'm kind of all of those like deep values that I feel like are kind of like surface level, which we can obviously dive deeper throughout our conversations together. But yeah, I kind of feel like I'm still figuring that out for myself. I don't have like this is exactly who I am right now. This is exactly where I'm headed. I feel like I'm still trying to figure out where exactly that is.
That. I think that's a good place to be in, honestly. Like if it's better to be there and honest about not knowing where you're at and where you're going exactly than thinking that you know everything and that you
Yeah.
know exactly where you're going. Cause like how old are you? You said early 20s?
24.
24. Okay. So like you have no idea where you'll be by the time you're 30. But if you
Yeah.
think you do, you're definitely not going to be there. Like
Yeah.
if I've learned anything
100%.
since I was 24, that's like the biggest thing.
Yeah. Life changes fast.
Yeah. So take me back to when you first started out in this space in the fitness and just health industry. Did you like why did you get into fitness and working out?
Funny enough, I started out as a college student, literally my freshman year, because I had always been an athlete. And when you're in high school, it seems like everything's organized for you. Like you're told exactly what to do, you're told exactly like the practice schedules, how long, the workouts you're expected to be at. And then going to college, it was kind of like a wake up call. I was like, wow, nobody's going to tell me what to do, nobody's going to tell me when I have to do it. And I can just, be lazy. I can go to class, wake up whenever I want. And I think that hit me pretty hard after the first semester in college. I think I, gained like 15 pounds. I was like, I was the epitome of freshman 15, honestly. And I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like how I looked. And Baker had started going to the gym, my brother. And he was like, you should check out this gym. Like, I think you'd really like it. So I was like, okay, like, whatever, I'll go. And then eventually it just became like a non-negotiable for me. Like, I wanted to go to the gym every single day. I wanted to spend 2, 3 hours in there because it was my favorite place to be. And then that is kind of what led to the spiral of being on social media, getting my certification. Like, I just fell in love with it. And it was like, there was no turning back then.
That's awesome. What do you think was the biggest thing that drew you there or that kept you there? Because obviously, what drew you there was just like getting healthy and
Mhm.
like your brother kind of influencing you. But what was the next step that really clicked for you?
Honestly, when I started seeing results and like started to see that I could like sculpt my body the way I wanted it to be, that is kind of what kept me in because I was like, wow, like I actually feel good. Like I'm actually getting results out of my workouts. And then, of course, I kind of started out with the knowledge as everyone else does with nutrition. I was kind of like, I'm just gonna eat chicken because that sounds right, and I'm gonna like find a vegetable and like that's fine. But once I started to see like the weight fall off and I started to see strength and I just wanted to become the strongest version of myself, I was just hooked in that environment. And I loved the people of the gym as well. Like they were always nice. They always wanted to help. They wanted to teach. And I know you know Chad, but Chad was my personal trainer whenever I first started in the gym too. So like being in that environment and learning from like a business standpoint and from just being someone that's young and learning from people who have been in the space for a long time, like I just kind of fell in love with like I could do this. Like I could have a gym one day or I could, have my own business one day, and I feel like that's what kind of kept me in that space.
Yeah, I love that. When you started really shifting into that lifestyle, did you experience any big like losses. Like a lot of times people kind of lose friendships, especially when you're in college. You have the people that you party with and that you gain
Yeah.
those 15 pounds with, and then they're not always the people that continue on with you in that fitness and health journey.
Yeah, definitely. I think because I started so early on in college too, I was still friends with a lot of people from like my hometown, and it wasn't normal to like go to the gym and to lift and to start sharing that on social media. So a lot of them looked at that as like, she's kind of weird for doing this. I don't really like want to be involved. So I lost a lot of them as like friends, as followers, as supporters, and I took it to heart at first because I was like, wow, like I never thought they would do that to me. I thought we'd always be friends. Which was like obviously kind of naive and like hopeful young me. But once I kind of realized that I was growing into a space where there were tons of people who were doing bigger and better things than me, tons of people who had been where I had been, that's what kind of motivated me to, keep going. And like those people are still in my circle. They're still in my friend group. Like they're people I still chat with today. So I feel like it was kind of like a transformation of, you know what, like they weren't meant to come with me to this next part. They're not meant to be on that journey with me. And that was fine. It sucked at first, but it was definitely kind of eye-opening and you learn and you grow.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that I think a lot of people have such a big problem with when they're
Hmm.
going through a big transformation or a journey, like whether it's you're going to compete in a show or just like you're getting a lot healthier, especially healthier than the people in your immediate vicinity, like your significant other or
Yeah.
your friends, your family, stuff like that. People feel threatened by you doing the things that they wish they could do.
Yes, 100%. Because I'm sure you've experienced it too. Like, I've had people who kind of like disconnected with me from that part of my journey and like have come back and like they want to ask questions. They want to know, wait, how did you do that? Or how can I do that for myself? And so it just shows you that, I mean, it comes full circle. And like eventually, those people who didn't really support it at first are going to come back because they're like, I actually want to learn how to do that for me, or I want to kind of be a part of that journey. And I mean, I think it's cool. I think it's cool to have people come back to us and like ask for, the advice or like be able to actually be that person for them. So no harm, no foul. It's all good.
Yeah.
All love.
I feel the same way. I've always like one of my values that I like have in my business is like leave people better than you found them. And I have that as a value in obviously like my coaching, but also just like in my interactions. Because if you are always, like you said, all love, like if you just always show love and like kindness to people and not, look down on them for looking down on you or maybe not understanding where you're at and where you're going, then they're much more likely to come back because they'll
Hmm.
always remember that you did the right thing or that you
Yes.
were a good person or you did right by them. You were just living your life. And usually people just need to see that. They need to see it and come to the conclusion themselves. Like, "Oh, she wasn't selling out or she wasn't, doing XYZ wrong. She was just
Hmm.
doing her life. Like she was just following her own dream and her own journey. Maybe I can
Yeah.
do that too if she can help me."
Yeah, exactly. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. What has been something you've recently accomplished that like younger you 2021 never thought that you would accomplish?
Okay, so I will go back to like my first accomplishment that I never thought I would ever accomplish, and that would be like just starting a business in general. Like I had this whole, which I think we all do at some point. We have this whole path, this whole like step by step, what's going to happen in our
Five year
lives, how it's
plan.
going to, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I kind of was that way. I like was like, I'm going to graduate college. I'm going to go to medical school. I want to become a doctor. Like that was my biggest vision for the longest time.
What
And
kind
then
of
when I
doctor
got
do you want to be?
I didn't really have like an actual practice. I really liked emergency medicine. That was like something that really interested me. Obviously, it's a lot harder than like, outside perspective looking in. That's where I volunteered in college. So I was like, this seems pretty cool. But then you actually get to the idea of taking the MCAT. Then you have to do a residency after the 4 years of med school. And then you have to go into a specialization if you want to specialize further than that. So it's like years and years and years, and I applaud everyone who does it because I mean, that's insane dedication. But I just kind of at the end of college, I was like, I don't even really like this. Like, I don't really think this is what I want to do. So starting the business that we did at I think I was 20 at the time. Like that was a major accomplishment. Like I never would have thought me being 18 and like starting out, I didn't want to start a business. Like that was my goal. But then when I saw people asking me questions and like wanting help, I was like, wait, I actually really do like this. Like I love kind of being that like mentor, that guidance for other people. Like that's a lot of fun to me. So that'd be like my major accomplishment when I first started. And now looking back over the last 2 years, we've hit six figures in our coaching business. I've been able to work with, I think, over 400 women now, which has been like such a joy. Like I actually love working with the girls, like talking to them on the daily basis. Like that's a lot of fun for me. So I feel like those are or my, I guess, biggest accomplishments in the last few years, just starting out and never envisioning like where it would go, and then like being here and kind of having a platform and a voice to help others has been like an amazing thing.
Yeah, it really is, and especially when you look at like how much of your life you've lived and like how little time there's actually been that you've been in that, and
Hmm.
like how many people's lives you've changed, right?
Hmm.
Like it'll never stop being cool, I don't think,
Yeah,
honestly.
no.
Was when you first started the business with coaching, do you started it with Baker, right? Or
Well, actually, we both started separately.
okay.
So we started separately, and like I really liked doing my own thing. I thought it was fun. Like this was, but I could only do so much on my own. Like I really just didn't know the business aspect of what it looked like. What should I actually be doing? How should I be
Yeah.
saving for taxes? And he was really good at that. So he came in and then we kind of combined everything, and he is really good. I mean, you kind of know he's really good at the back end.
Yeah.
And so I get to be like the face and like dive in on the coaching aspect, which I enjoy. And I'm not a numbers girl. Like I hate all of that stuff. Like that's just not me. So we started separately and then came together. And then now it's just kind of like we've taken our own roles.
When you first started, did you see yourself making this into a full-time career and lifestyle, or did you think of it as something like this will be my side hustle while I figure out my career choice?
Yeah, I was definitely, it was a side hustle at first because I was in college when I started. So I was doing, 15 hours of school. I was volunteering at the hospital. I was working a part-time job where I was working 25, 30 hours a week. So I didn't feel like I had that much time to dedicate to it. So I was like, you know what, I'll just take, five, six clients. Like I can help them and like that'll be it. Um, and from there, I actually stopped working a second job in 2023, I think, at the very beginning of it, because me and Baker had a mentor, and they were like, if you want to make this like your thing, like you're gonna have to stop working other jobs and you're gonna have to dive in, which was terrifying to me.
I was gonna say,
But
was that scary?
yes, it was so scary. So I was like, at first, like, when you don't put your full effort, you're not actually seeing like the full benefits. You're not actually seeing like what this could possibly scale to. So I was terrified at first. But once I actually did take that leap of faith, and I just was like, you know what? We'll figure it out. Because our mentor told us, listen, you're not going to figure it out unless you're actually like backed into a corner, and you have to find your way out of that corner. So we did that, and then it became a full-time job. And I think it took like a couple of months of really like, honing in on it to actually see it scale. But once it did, like we've been able to maintain that and grow from there. So it's been good.
That's awesome. How was there any like doubtful people that influenced you or almost influenced you along the way? People that like parents, for example, when I told my parents I was quitting my corporate job to just be a coach, at the time like that's kind of how they thought of it, is like just being a coach,
Yeah.
and they didn't really understand. Did you have that kind of influence that made you second guess that decision?
Yes, I would say yes. First and foremost, myself, because I was like, how, like, you see people do it and you see people have success, but it's like, can I do that? Can I actually maintain that? So I think my biggest hater, and I will say this like to this day, is still myself. Like, I still am my biggest critic, as most of us are. And then my parents were very unsure because I was, from the start of college, I'm going to go to medical school. I'm going to become a doctor. Like, that's what I was going to do.
That's a
So when
big
they,
shift.
yes,
Yeah.
when they heard the whole change of like, you want to be a personal trainer and you want to be an online coach and you want to be in social media, like, is that really doable? Like, can you actually make money, like make a living? So they definitely questioned it at first, but they've been like nothing but supportive. And they always tell me, if you need anything, like they'll be there. But I mean, we've made it work, and like I feel like like you working day in and day out, like staying on top of your stuff, like being your own boss, like holding yourself accountable. Those things can take you like very far if you actually stick to the plan.
Yeah, you have to be I think a lot of people think entrepreneurship is like this big freedom that you
Mhm.
have. And while it is freedom, it's not the freedom people expect.
Mhm.
It's literally like you create the time freedom that you want, but
Yes.
depending on your type of business, like you still have people depending on you, and you're
Yeah.
still dependent on others in terms of like your customers and things like that, your clients and athletes, whatever else like streams of income you have, but like you're buying the time that is yours instead of
Yes.
just putting in time to somebody else's vision, which is what you're doing when you're working for someone or working in an industry where can't be your own boss, like the medical industry, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to more of the social media side of things, were you like, I mean, right now you're at a very high level in like influencer world. I feel like you have 220,000 followers, like you're very active on there. Was that part of what helped you see the coaching side of things, or did the coaching thing come first?
Well, honestly, they kind of came together. Like when I started out, I was just starting to post on social media, like just starting to be like, you know what, I'm just going to share everything and all things fitness. And from there, that kind of like scaled because I actually like in my college, I knew girls who like wanted help, who like were interested, who wanted to work out together. So like that's where that coaching thing kind of started. And then from there, like social media allowed me to have like another avenue, and I feel like I scaled my social media pretty quickly within like the first year or so. And then it kind of like slowed down. And then I just have like random spurts of growth in that aspect because I like social media. It's a great tool, but I'm not always like the person who wants to be on the camera, wants to be talking, wants to be posting, because content creation is not the hardest job by any means, but it is sometimes really hard to get creative and get out of your own head,
Yeah.
which we all kind of know that from
Yeah.
talks we had at the AR. It is very hard to get out of your own head. So I feel like I started the coaching first, and then social media kind of came along with that, which just boosted the coaching.
Yeah. Did you ever think that you would be at the level you're at when you first started social media? Like, was that kind of your plan? Like, okay, I'm gonna have, this type of content and go viral, and like then it's gonna build my business, that kind of thought?
Absolutely not. No. I never thought that I would even get really any traction on social media. My brother and Chad actually kind of encouraged me to start posting on social media. They were like, I think you could like, maybe do something with this. So I started and I was like, it is what it is. Like I'll just post some pictures, I'll share like what I'm doing. And then it just kind of took off. And so I was like, oh wait, this is kind of cool. So I kind of, I just stuck with it and I kept posting, and then I feel like my content has grown as I've grown. Like at first I was more so just kind of sharing like pictures and not really like talking a lot, not really like being myself. And then as I've grown into, the last few years, I started switching that up and like being more myself online, talking, sharing my workouts, sharing foods, because I feel like that authentic self kind of held me back like at the beginning of the social media journey, and people want to see the authenticity, especially now.
Yeah. How did you find your authentic self?
I honestly, what I told myself was you literally have to stop caring. Like you cannot care about numbers, you cannot care about who likes this, who doesn't like this, you can't care about the hate comments. You just have to post and post what you enjoy, because I do think it is true that if you're posting things that you don't actually enjoy and that are very surface level, people are like not going to tap into that because it's not interesting.
They can tell.
Like that's not real and raw, and we all know it.
Hmm. Yeah, and if it's something that you're not really passionate about, like some people really like the high production value, like really
Hmm.
cool looking content, whatever. But if you don't love that, then you have to post what you love to post or what's easy to
Yeah.
post. I think that's been the biggest thing for me is that in my own trying to figure out social media is just not, like you said, not caring as much and just
Hmm.
posting things that are easy to post and I know can be helpful for someone,
Yeah.
because that's my main part of my brand is just helping people. And but you can't help people if you're just in your head and you're worried about what haters say or what people
Yeah.
think that you're doing and not doing shit like that. So
Yeah, yeah, which you do a great job of it because I've seen a lot of yours like it's a combination of like your actual lifestyle and like education, and I feel like that combination of things is really helpful to the audience that like we're trying to target. Whereas I am struggling a little bit with the educational part and providing like some really good value when it's not, like a little story post that I can throw together. So I admire you for that because I feel like that is something I need to be better about. Like I need to provide more value.
what do you
I don't
think
know
holds
why I
you back?
struggle.
What do you think holds you back from putting that out there? Because you obviously like your shit. You're helping people. You're coaching at a high level. Like, what holds you
Yeah.
back from putting that side of things out there?
I feel like my biggest issue is I don't want to come across like salesy and I don't want people to think, oh, she's just telling me this because she wants me like as a
Mhm.
client. And I've only to say that because I've seen a lot of other social medias where it just seems more like an ad. Like you're always trying to get clients, you're always trying to get someone on the team, and I don't want to come across as that. I'd rather just be like organic, like, oh, you're watching my content, you're like seeing what I'm doing, and you want to be a part of that. Like I love that because like that was you making the choice. That wasn't me having to like really reach out and be like, hey, like I'm taking clients. So I
Yeah.
think that's where my biggest struggle is. I want it to feel organic and I don't want them to feel like pressured almost or like, oh my gosh, all she does is ask for us to join her team. So I feel like that it's me in my own head, of course,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yeah, I've had similar thoughts, and some of my thoughts are also just like imposter syndrome, like
Hmm.
someone else is going to state this better, like put this education out there
Yeah.
better or whatever. And something that's helped me as I've grown my own coaching business, because I started coaching like on the side maybe like 2018, and then I went full time in 2021.
Hmm.
And I've been on social media since like 2015 or something like that,
Yeah.
which seems crazy now. But what was I gonna say? Oh, just like there's so many people that will come across you as a person on social media, because that's how people come across people,
Yeah.
that like they may not become a client when they first see that first educational post,
Hmm.
and because they're not ready, and because they don't like, whether they don't want to be sold, maybe they already work with someone, whatever, maybe they're just kind of like scared to work with someone, or they're not sure if coaching is right for them. But then if they keep seeing you show up, and they keep seeing what you have to offer, and they keep seeing that you're offering that type of support and value, that's
Yeah.
when like it could be 5 years from now, you have someone that shows up and is like, I started following you 5 years ago, and you just like are so cool and so authentic and so strong, and like I'm finally ready to work with you.
Yeah.
Like, I have many clients that are like that, that like they followed me since before I was even coaching. And then
That's so
they're just like
crazy.
ended up deciding now it's time. And it's just like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, I guess I'll keep going with this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that shows you that exactly what you're doing is working. Like
Yeah.
people are always watching. They're
Yeah.
always watching.
Yeah.
So that's
And
really
that's
good.
that's why just like being yourself is important too. Cause I've met so many people now, just like being in it for so long, where like I meet someone and they're so different from how they look
Hmm.
on social media. Like, not only do they look different because they filter the fuck out of their faces,
Yeah.
but they just like act different, they have
Yeah.
a totally different personality. And it's like, yeah, if you're only ever talking to people on social media, that doesn't matter really, but other than just
Mm.
like what's in your own conscience. But yeah, if you're meeting people like at shows and expos, if you're actually working with them, like people can see through that.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
What's been the hardest part about just social media for you as you've grown?
I would say the outside voices for sure. I feel like it's funny because I used to like tell my family, I was like, I just don't understand. Like, why are people so mean? Like, you like,
Yeah,
you go
yeah.
onto social media like wanting to share these things with people, wanting to show people your progress, wanting to like talk about something that's on your mind, and someone will find something with whatever it is to pick you apart, to point out a flaw or an insecurity or whatever it might be. And I feel like that is like the biggest downside to social media and the biggest thing that I guess in some ways like hindered my growth for a really long time because I was just like distraught that anyone would even like say something like that or think something like that. But now I've like dealt with it so much, I'm like, okay, good one. That was so original. Like I just, it doesn't even matter. But I feel like that is definitely one of the things that, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, because like I'm sure once you get to a certain level of anything and you get attention or you get success, like you're always gonna have that. And
Hmm.
like at some point you have to just like know you have to decide how you're gonna deal with it.
Yeah.
Like you see a Reddit post about you, you see a, you know, a shitty comment in your comment section or whatever, and it's like it's up to you to give that more energy.
Hmm.
And that's the biggest thing that's helped me is like I can give it more energy and cry about it and
Yep.
change my content about it, but it's not really going to change anything about that person's life. It might
No.
make them feel better, but it's not my job to make them feel better.
No.
So
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I feel like if you feed into that, if you give them the attention they want, they will just come back for more. Like it's
yeah,
not even worth it
yeah,
at
and
all.
engagement is engagement too, so like people
Yeah.
hating, it's just it's better, it's good
Run
for
it
you,
up.
I
Give me the
guess.
comments. Come on.
Yeah. What do you think has been one of the biggest just mindset or perspective shifts for you in the last year?
I would say I actually talked about this whenever we were talking about like our kind of year in recap. For me, it was a lot of like how I handle things. So how we perceive things and then how we choose to react to them is I feel like everything. And I feel like for the longest time, I let things affect me more than they should. I saw things maybe in a different light, or I would kind of read into it and I would, take that how I wanted, not how it was actually meant. So I feel like the perspective, like change of me just like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. There's no reason to stress about this problem as much as I'm stressing about it. There's no reason to take these words or take that hate or whatever it might be to heart. Like I was just kind of like letting things roll off. Like it is what it is. And I feel like that's something I never was able to do prior to last year. I would always let things affect me longer and deeper than they should. So I feel like that's my biggest thing is just actually taking things in and just letting them go.
Was there anything that really helped you start doing that? Like a tool, like a thought pattern tool or book or influence of any kind?
I don't think so. Honestly, it's kind of honestly what it was is I would always like talk to my family or my boyfriend and I'd be like, "Hey, this is bothering me. Hey, this is bothering me again. Hey, I'm stressing about this same problem I've stressed about 20 times." And they would always kind of be like, "You have to stop letting these things affect you." So eventually I kind of just like sat with my own thoughts and I'm like, "Why like how I react to this is 90% of the problem." Like what these people say, what these people do, what this person, reacted to or whatever, like that is the smallest thing ever and you can just look past that. But how I actually like reacted and handled problems was the actual problem. So I feel like I kind of sat with myself and I was like, I don't know like what you're doing and I don't know why it's that big of a deal. Like it's really not that deep. So I feel like sitting down and it's made my life 10 times better because I've always been a very high stress person and I love to think and overthink and think again. And when I kind of removed that process of overthinking and I just let things roll, it doesn't affect me. And I can sleep at night and I'm not feeling anxious 24/7, which is great. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's really all. Like it wasn't actually like learning anything. It was just like, wow, you need to relax. Like I really
Yeah,
needed to
watching
relax.
yourself and seeing
Yeah.
how like almost watching yourself from a outsider's perspective and seeing like what advice would you give to someone you love, right?
Hmm.
You were seeing all of your friends and family and close people telling you this and like then looking at yourself and asking like, well, what would I give the same type of advice for?
Yeah.
And realizing that like, yeah, what you said about you are the biggest part of the problem if you're getting anxious about something or trying to deal with it or fight back or whatever. And like, sure, there's some situations where like dealing with something aggressively might be the answer, but I think
Hmm.
most of the time it is really just letting things roll off because whoever is giving you any kind of problems or hating you or judging you or saying anything about you, anything that's external and outside of yourself, like they say it and then they get on with their life. right?
Yeah.
They type up the comment and then move on to the next person they're going to hate on. Or
Yeah.
like they just go back to their miserable life. I kind of
Yeah.
think about it like, think about the people that like lean on their horn when they're driving and they think you cut them off, or they're just annoyed that you're doing something that you're driving totally fine, but they're just annoyed, and then they
Mhm.
yell or they flip you off or something like that. Like, yeah, that sucks. And like you could totally like flip them off back or yell at them back or honk back or whatever. Like you could fucking run into their car if you wanted to,
Yeah.
really. Like, but you don't have to. You can just keep driving.
Yeah.
And they'll keep driving and they'll just like be really angry and be frustrated, and then they're going to go home and tell their husband and wife, "Oh my god, I had the worst day, and like this person was driving like an asshole." Like that's their life because
Yeah.
they're so wrapped up in that negativity and what they're doing and how shitty life is, because that's the life they live in. But we don't have
Yeah.
to live in that life. We can just keep driving.
No, yeah. I think it's all up, like it's our choice. And I'm a big like advocate for like choose your hard. Like it is your
Mhm.
choice to feel negatively or positively. It is your choice to wake up in the morning and start your day off on the wrong foot or let the road rage incident affect your entire day. Like it is up to us to make those decisions for ourselves. Like I feel like we control our realities. We control
Really do.
those, I mean, anxiety and stuff, obviously like very real thing. A lot of people deal with it, but we also control a lot of like anxious thoughts that we have because
Mhm.
it's a reality that we are creating that hasn't even happened yet. So I feel like that is, shifting my mindset around that has, yeah, it's a game changer. And I feel like I would recommend to anyone, like, try it. Yeah. Like, you don't have to let that road rage incident affect you. Like, just, it's whatever. Let
Yeah.
them be negative. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And like, especially when it comes to things that you really can't control, like other
Hmm.
people or, something at work or something that happens to you or happens to
Yeah.
someone around you. Like, you can't control the fact that that's a negative thing that happened or occurred, or it sucks to hear that or whatever, but you can control how you react to it.
Hmm.
And if you react in a more neutral way or even a more positive way, your day is going to either stay the same or get a little bit better. And
Yeah.
if it can get a
I
little
agree.
bit better instead of a lot worse, or a little bit worse, and then that keeps kind of cascading, then you all of a sudden you have way more control over your day. And what started as something like, oh, this is a shitty thing, it could have made you, made it into a bad day, or you're not letting it take over. You're not letting it
Hmm.
win and create this shitty day that then comes a shitty week, and you feel bad about yourself and just everything sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a never ending downward spiral when it starts. So
Yeah.
I don't even want to start it.
um what does intention mean to you? I saw recently you posted how this year you really want to be more just intentional about
Hmm.
everything in life. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing with that is because I used to feel like I was just like kind of going through the motions. Like there wasn't really a lot of like thought or care or showing up with like this is what I'm gonna do, this is why I'm gonna do it. So like really anything in life. It just felt like more of a go with the flow, which is not a bad thing, but I felt like this year intention is something that I wanted to be in all aspects. Like I want to show up and I want to be present. I want to show up to my workouts and I want to actually be working out, not just going through the motions because I have content to post. Like I want to be improving in the bodybuilding world. Like I want to show up for my clients and not just be a coach and give them a plan, but make sure I'm there for them in all their life troubles as well. Because I'm sure like you have clients who reach out to you who want to talk about something, or they faced maybe a decision that they had to make today and it was a hard one, or whatever it might be. So just showing up for them as a human and not just like, oh, your client 45, like you deal with it. Like that's never what I want to do. Showing up in like my relationships, my friendships, showing up as a business owner and not just someone in the business. So I feel like behind that is just actually being present and putting my best foot forward in every situation that I'm in. Because I feel like when I was kind of just going through the motions, there wasn't a lot of things happening. There wasn't a lot of growth happening. There wasn't a lot of change happening, and I felt stagnant, which I hated to feel stagnant. So being intentional is honestly me just showing up as my best self and like being present in that moment. Kind of like with the AR thing. If you would
Mhm.
have asked me to go to that a year ago, I would have been like, okay. And I probably would have been like on my phone or like scrolling, or I would have been like, I don't need to learn anything. Like, it's fine. And it wasn't me being arrogant. It was just me like, this isn't really my thing, so I'm not really going to pay attention. But then this year, like, I took a bunch of notes in the notebook they gave us. Like, I wanted to be there. I wanted to learn. I wanted to walk away better than I came. So that's kind of where I stand with that intention and like really taking that throughout 2025.
Yeah, I like that. Why do you think it's so hard for people to have that? Because in my opinion, I think most people are more on the side of they're going through the motions, or they're not giving full intention, full effort to the things they want to do, even if they have big goals. Why do you think that
Yeah.
is?
I feel like it's just so easy to, one, kind of feel like, oh, I don't need to learn. I don't need to know that. Like, it's not a big deal. I feel like a lot of us think we're confident enough in our knowledge. We don't need to, expand that, when I feel like never stop learning. I know that's like a cliche, but like that's so true in anything that you do. And I feel like in today's society, like we're caught up with watching. We love to watch like what other people are doing, the success that other people are having, the trips they're taking. And you think in your mind, you're like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. But then you never actually take action to be even remotely able to do that. So I feel like we are all caught up with the watching and observing and the thinking, and less on the action taking and being present and actually doing what you're promising to yourself. We're really great at breaking the promises we make with ourselves because you're not hurting anyone else's feelings, like it's just
Yeah,
you.
it's
But
just
at
you.
the
Yeah,
yeah,
and you're
like
okay with doing that, which is kinda
yeah,
sad, right?
yes,
You're okay with
exactly.
breaking your own promises, and it's really just, like, people might think, like, "I'm not breaking my promises, I'm just, I'm putting it off, or I'm just being lazy," but that is truly breaking a promise. If you set a goal, that's essentially a promise to yourself that you're gonna achieve something, and I think people get caught up in the watching. I love that you mentioned that, because it's just like, that's what social media is for. It's
Yeah.
literally for watching. Like, learning more about, like, how the algorithm works even is, like, pushes that even truer, because it's like the whole goal of that app is to get people to stay on the app, is to
Yeah.
get people to not take action, even though we're watching people taking action, right?
Mhm.
It's like a weird
Exactly.
it's a weird mind fuck,
It
honestly.
is. It is.
But you're right. That's just like most people are so comfortable. Like, at the end of a long day, all I want to do is relax. But what is relaxing? It's laying on the couch and scrolling social media of some
Yeah.
kind, and just watching people do the things that, oh, yeah, that's such a good idea. I'm going to save that for later. But it's not really doing anything.
Yeah. Like, did you actually go back and look at that video that you wanted to, I don't know, that recipe? No,
No,
probably
probably
not.
not.
Like, I feel like that's an issue. That's a
Yeah.
big issue.
Yeah. I think for anyone who struggles with that, I don't know what your take on it is, but like, just taking yourself out of social media for the consuming portion of it. And
Mhm.
if you need social media to, like, for your business, like we do, or whatever, like, use it for that and be strategic with that, connect
Mhm.
with people on it. But other than that, just like stay off of it. Just
Yeah.
spend time living life, being present, being intentional in your training, like not scrolling social media between sets or
Mhm.
during your cardio or something like that. Just like be there and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, and I feel like that's something we struggle with. I feel
Hmm.
like that's something everybody struggles with,
For sure.
unfortunately.
Yeah, nobody is perfect by any means, but like I've seen such a better level of productivity for me, for example, when I intentionally stay off my phone like all morning.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, in my morning hours, I'm doing check-ins, I'm doing my morning routine, like doing work stuff. And then then in the afternoon, I'm like, okay, I'll sign on, I'll respond to some people, post, whatever. And then it's just like I feel so much better because I'm not
Mhm.
stuck in that world.
Yeah, I agree. I like started setting a goal for myself to like finish all of my morning work before I could even like look at my phone, because
Yeah.
I would catch myself. I'd like do a few things and then I'd be like, "Oh wait, let me get on my phone and I got to do this really quick." And then I'd do a few more things and then next thing you know, it's like you're halfway through your day and you feel like I didn't do anything. So
Yeah.
I started kind of telling myself like I don't touch my phone until I am done with this work. And then I can touch my phone and start editing content and posting and whatever. because I found myself doing the same thing. Like I would just kind of get caught up in this routine, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, I need to do more work. I haven't actually finished. I don't even know where my morning went. Yeah, it's just like a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, you get stuck, you get distracted with other things because there's so much in that little world of your phone, and
Yes.
you think that you can be productive on your phone, but you really can't if you
Mm-mm.
still have other things you need to be productive with, because, like, scrolling social media, I think it makes us in our mind think that we're gonna see something that we need to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about this with Austin the other day. It's like you scroll and you keep going because you think like, oh, the next thing I'm gonna see is gonna like blow my mind or like I'm gonna need that for something.
Yeah.
And really like, no, that's not what's gonna happen. Like
It'll be there
really
tomorrow
rare.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely feel that.
what would be advice you would give to your younger self before any of all of this started? What like where she was at, thinking she's gonna be a doctor in college, living life, what would you say to her now?
Honestly, I would just tell her to relax because, I mean, even in college, I was very high stress, always stressing about grades and what's coming next and how am I supposed to pass the MCAT. And I would tell her to relax and to just enjoy life because I feel like I was really caught up in like having success in college. I was really caught up in like getting the good grades and studying, and I don't even think I had really like a lot of partying or a lot of like outings. Like I just kind of was in my own little world. Um, but it all worked out, so it's okay. Not only that, I would also tell her to be more confident. I feel like that is something I struggled with for a really long time. Even when I first started out on social media, I am like night and day different from, 17, 18-year-old me to now. And I would tell her to be more confident, like be yourself. Like it's okay. Like there are people who are going to love you. There are people who are going to absolutely hate your guts probably, but that is okay because your people are going to be there. Like your circle is really what matters at the end of the day. So those are the two things. Yeah. I would want her to be more confident. I look back and I'm like, why was I so, what was
I like
wrong?
that. What was I doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now think about yourself in 5 years. Doesn't have to be a 5-year plan, but what do you think she would give you as advice now, looking back on your next 5 years, but her last 5 years?
I feel like she would say kind of what I'm thinking now is like continue to grow, continue to cultivate like what you have and allow yourself to grow because I feel like now I kind of find myself stuck in like an influencer type mindset of like I need to perform this well or I need to hit these numbers and I feel like in 5 years I'm going to look back and I'm going to be like just grow. Like allow yourself to grow on social media so that your audience grows with you so that you're able to make changes in like these different age groups. Like I don't have to stick with this one influencer mindset of the 20-year-olds. Like my goal is to grow as a woman in a relationship, as a coach, eventually a mom. So I feel like in 5 years, that's what I'd look back and I'd be like, just let it go. Like there's no stress, there's no reason to be stuck in that mindset. Like your goal is to grow. Goal is to grow like your business, your socials, but you like I have to grow with them. Like I
Yeah.
can't be stuck.
And
And
it's
I feel like
okay to
that's
outgrow what you're
yes.
doing now,
Yeah.
like whatever that means, outgrowing like even just the age range you mentioned. I think
Mhm.
that's a big thing that can kind of help make people fearful of getting older is they're afraid of like outgrowing whatever they're doing and like,
Yeah.
whether it's a style, a workout, or like can I stay this fit for this long? Like what's going to happen when I turn 30 or 40 or whatever? Like what's going to happen to my body when I have kids? Will I even be able to like I've talked to pregnant clients or women who recently had babies, and they actually have that fear of like, will people even want to work with me now that I've had a baby?
Mhm.
Like, they'll want to work with you more.
Yeah.
Like, calm down.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
don't
feel
be
like that's
afraid to outgrow
important.
yourself.
Yeah, and being like raw and real while doing it because I feel like that's what people want to see. They want to see that you're human, that I'm human, that we go through human things and we are changing just like everybody else, like constantly. So I really think that that's like a big goal of mine over the next 5 years.
Yeah. And just not letting people judge or decide what your authentic self really looks like, and
Hmm.
not letting them decide like what is human or too human or not enough,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
because haters are going to come and go no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
And they are going to
100%.
make their judgments of you and think that you're fake or whatever. And it doesn't matter what they think. What
No.
matters what the people who resonate with you and your real self that you're putting out there. That's who matters.
Yes, I agree. At the end of the day, who cares what they have to say?
Yeah, just do you.
Yeah, just do you. Of
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
course.
I think this is a valuable lesson for anyone just like kind of figuring themselves out and who they're becoming and where they want to go in life. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was fun. I'm glad we got
Yeah.
to do this.
Anyone listening, if you want to reach out to Addison and work with her as a coach, follow her journey on Instagram, whatever, I'll put all of her information down in the show notes. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.